What's going on, everybody? Gustav the 13th here with another video for the week of June 11th, 2026. We finally, after weeks and weeks, have another support suit, and it's another UC Engage kind of situation here with the narrative Gundam B2-Packs. This is the one that has the big old high field shields with the Gatling guns. Rocking some interesting kit here. 700, 750, 4-step banner, same kind of stuff that we've been seeing recently in general. They're really rushing these into the second cost range, and I wonder if they think that they're gonna try to solve some stuff that's going on before the nerfs, just so that they can ease the nerfs a little bit for the suits that are, you know, causing trouble. But let's check out the kit. So we do have the regular beam rifle here, 2700 for the damage, ammo of 7, range of 400. You're gonna notice that a lot of the ranges here kind of vary, and they taper in real tight in a way that I'm gonna be real with you, I don't like. Beam Gatling gun times 4 has 300 range, heat rate of 4. This also has a special firing mode. It's halted during attacks, heat gauge, all that good stuff, so you can just really lay into people. It does have a beam saber. It does have priority 2, as well as balancers, and I want to say melee combo controller in here somewhere. If not, then melee combat composite system. Yeah, lost for 2 attack melee combo, range is reduced during combo attacks. So you just put it into a composite system. Stuff like that, and just the general laundry list of stuff in here makes it a very blue support, I guess is the way to put it. They really want you to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to getting into the melee because of the priority and all the good stuff. With a kit that's pretty aggressive, but only in the sense of you only have 1 stun. All this stuff is like high accumulation. You can get it to be decently high damage, you know, because it does have a rapid shot. You have to do 3 shots and it's 2-round bursts, ammo 14, 900 power. 375 for the range as well. I kind of wish they would have just kept it to, you know, 400, because, you know, again, 300 here. The launch, because these are both lock on. Well, this is lock on, and then this one's just a perimeter thing. This goes to 250, which is really stubby for a lot of the stuff that's going to be using flaps, heavy Minovsky craft, all that stuff. And then the sensor is interesting because it's pressing the attack button deploys 2 shield beam gatlings that temporarily follow your unit and automatically attack enemy units in range. If your unit is down during deployment, they will overheat and be disabled. So unlike a lot of the funnel dots and stuff that you can kind of put down, this one does follow you around and does some firing stuff, not necessarily in tandem with your own weapons, just on its own, legitimately on its own. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself. And then it does have a set of Vulcans that I think stuns for around 15 or 17 depending on what you're hitting. In general, a very kind of high pressure, high accumulation kind of kit going on here. Stat wise, it is a Gundam. The defense on this is, you know, pretty solid across the board. We have 27k for the health, ballistic beam and melee are 30, 33 and 23. Kind of decent to be able to scale those considering the part slash. We'll get to that in a second. Range strength is a baseline of 45. Melee strength is 25. We have movement speed of 130, top speed of 210, as well as a thrust gauge of 75, and a turning speed of 72. Part slots then are 15, 19, and 18 for close, medium, and long. Like I was saying before, melee priority 2, rarity of 3 here. Higher performance radar 3, high performance scope 2, resist move level 2. So that's 50% on the reduction and all that good stuff. Conservational data link, Scout parallel processing device, high performance aerospace gimbal 2, leg shock absorber 2, anti-blast stabilizer 1, melee composite system 1, high spec AMBAC 2, high performance thruster control system, so landing after high speed movement can be cancelled with a high speed movement of less thruster consumption, and the high speed movement can be performed again. High speed movement with slightly less thruster consumption and additional actions can be performed while jumping as well. So they're really trying to let you be a little bit more flexible. Specifically, and I'll say this right now, because the special firing mode for this actually lets you fire it on the move through high speed movement as well. Now that being said, if we go back to just And we see that it does have that controller system. A lot of this in general still is kind of support taxed. You got thruster gauge of 75. The per boost is a little bit rough on this in terms of redirecting yourself. But it does make up for that by having, you know, explosive reactive armor, the anti-blast, damage control 2, sub-arm cushioning. So reduces damage taken by 50% when sub-arm weapons are hit. Lower hit reaction for non-tackle based attacks and deal $2,000. Almost said $2,000. 2,000 damage or less. Also reduces stagger from cumulative damage. Now, mind you, for the sub-arms, when we're talking about that, we're talking about the Gatlings themselves. The only time that you're really gonna get the advantage from that is if someone's, you know, kind of fucking up their aim and hitting it, because it's mounted on the back and it's a little bit raised. But when they're mounted on your arms for the Beam Gatling gun ×4, you do get that advantage a little bit more. So, you know, something to think about in terms of just the positioning of the weapons and all that good stuff. Full attack. Also, when a Psyche weapon is in use, both your mobility and the damage you deal to enemy mobile suits with non-Psyche weapons will increase. When engaging units with offense or defensive Psyche weapons, these effects will not be applied. So, interestingly enough, that means that when you do have your stuff out, you know, especially when it comes to the sensor, the lock-on for the Gatlings too also does a few bursts and is a little bit, you know, ceremonious and slow. So you do have a good amount of time to get in some good hits with your rifle and all that good stuff in the meantime. Then thruster-based firing cooling system. So again, much like we were talking about with the movement and stuff, not only are they doing all that, but they give you that special Vulcan thing. So when ballistic weapons during high-speed movement, when using ballistic weapons during high-speed movement, your unit recovers from both heat buildup and overheating faster. So you actually cool down your weapons a lot faster when you're boosting and hitting your Vulcans. In the meantime, it's literally just to make sure that you're using everything on this suit for something. Pulling back a little bit and checking out the enhancements. We got +1 to anti-beam modifier, +1 to ballistic resistance, +1 to range strength, and complex expansion slot coming in at 2670 for the level 1, and I think 3080 for the level 2. I'll be real with you, I did do a round for the level 2. It was okay. We're mostly going to just be talking about the 700 cost because I think that's already a little high for what this is. Again, much like everything else, and considering that the narrative B-Packs, regular B-Packs, is actually at 650, this feels like it probably should have been there too. But the unlockables here is +5 to anti-beam and +5 to range strength. So in total, +6 to range strength, which means you can get it to a baseline of 51. Alright, so let's take this into practice, talk about it, show it off a little bit. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. I'm gonna bitch about it a little bit. Because, ooh, I will say right out the bat, this is a better attempt than the BC or whatever for the last support that we had at 750. I get what they were trying to do with that suit. I get what they're trying to do with this suit. But it feels a little bit rough just in terms of the kind of ranges you have to work with to make everything happen. So regular shot, 3766 on there when you hit something that's type disadvantage. 22, 23, so a decent amount of taper there. 1, 2, as you see there, you need the third shot to actually get that accumulation, or similarly, and then you just build up with Vulcans or whatever else. Similarly, again, everything on this has a decent amount of accumulation. Let's try to let that taper off, and I'll do so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 with that, just for the Gatlings themselves, and then 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 or so for that. And then we'll show you off the pattern for the Gatling guns being out. And as you can see, like I was saying before, they stay out for a few bursts. They're pretty consistent. You get a good amount of accumulation out of them. And then we have the sensor, which does a similar job. And I'm very surprised that they did allow these to accumulate. I think they realized the kind of cost that they were putting these in, and the fact that it was just going to need that in order to be a little bit more viable. But again, not a very long range, and as you can see, you know, a little bit aggressive, not as much as it could be. Something to keep in mind that's a little bit rough about this is that the sight on the sensor ones themselves have a very hard time tracking on things that are above you. So for example, if you're down here and you have someone up here, it might not hit, especially if they're higher up like this. Unlike when you put out things like the Nightingale's funnels and stuff, they don't go there. So this is actually not too bad. But there have been other instances when we were on like Mass Relay Driver and stuff like that, where they would be on those little platforms where supports typically hang out, and I'd have them out and I'd hug the wall and be like, well, hopefully it'll get in there. It didn't get in there. So little finicky shit like that. As you can see here, you can fire on the move while you're in that special mode, all that good stuff. You'll definitely, like we did there, run out of boost a lot faster than you're gonna run out of the actual heat itself, or the mode itself. They're overall not too bad. Very straightforward kind of kit. I think finicking with the Gatlings aside when it comes to their lock-on and their kind of area mode is a little bit rough. But I feel like you can really do a good amount of damage. Now the bigger issue here obviously is the kind of suits that are at both of these costs. They're shooting in, they have heavy staggers, they're coming in from the air a lot. They have a lot more resistance when they're, you know, in those kind of situations because they're being rewarded for you having their mobility. The other thing to really talk about is the accumulation that this can do on the base. In general, much as you would probably expect, the lock-on doesn't really do anything. Your bread and butter for really contributing to the base is going to be the rifle. The regular shot gives you a visible chunk. You can get some decent stuff out of this from the other hits, but in general, I wouldn't really say that this is a suit that's really meant to dig into the base. Obviously, once you get your range mod up a little bit more, you'll probably have an easier time. It does have a nice little thrust with priority 2 there for its downswing. I will say one thing, and I kind of understand why it doesn't have it. I do wish that this suit had flaps, maybe some aerial melee going on. Obviously, as you can see, it's got thrusters on the skirts, back, and a little bit on the legs. The actual pack itself, outside of what's on the under bit for the actual backpack, does not have anything. So if that's their logic, then I guess, you know, it's a little bit hard to argue with, but you know, considering some of the other suits that they've been a little bit more liberal with when it comes to that kind of stuff, I do kind of hope that eventually they kind of let loose and things like that. We did have a few matches. I think the match that we're going to use is going to be at 700 itself. You know, like I said, I did do a 750. It was kind of alright, but it was a little bit rough. But we are going to put that match right around here. Yeah, not so much that it's weird for support, but it's just such a big contrast compared to the things that are working, especially with everyone kind of glazing the super. That's extreme range, right? Party gun and all that other shit has some mid-range stuff, but it's still trying to spank with the cannon. But it feels like this is already going to have to get adjusted in the sense that like its animations and attack patterns are going to have to get sped up. Oh wow, that didn't actually go through. And then of course we're not really going to know what this is like until they do those nerfs, and when we find out whether or not those nerfs are going to be just quick wrist slaps or if they're actually going to make that much of a difference in the way people choose stuff compared to all the other unit adjusted stuff that came out as well. Oh god, that's an EXS, I think. Like I can't lock onto that. My rifle may or may not hit them because there's a bunch of eye field shields running around anyway. These two tucked in, but I have to be like right next to the wall for it to maybe track him. They got a burning, so I'm just gonna get beat up a bunch. Yeah. It really should have flaps. It'd be nice if it had flaps. I think they're holding back on the flaps because if they give that flaps, then they have to give regular narrative and all this other shit flaps. And they're just gonna do a bunch of whataboutisms. Because the shields are just on a glorified like rack. They don't really have thrusters or anything on them. I really need you guys to accumulate on this dude. Because the second I look at something else, it's just gonna come get me. Yep. Like that grind down is crazy. But I gotta get so close to fucking do it. Oh my god, hit her. Don't push me out, dude. What are you doing? Fucking C-Fact should have it. Yeah. Ah, yeah, 4 got countered. Oh my god, please. There's so many of them here. You just took my legs, what the fuck?
作戦残り時間2分。本作戦の拠点重要度が上昇した。味方が敵モビルスーツを撃破したようだ。
Brother, what the foot?
逆ブスタが上昇した。
Come on, fuck that, dude.
作戦残り時間1分。勝利はもらったも同然か。
No one decided on either of them.
味方の救援信号をキャッチした。
Why did they all fall over? Oh my god.
モビルスーツが限界。脱出を許可する。
What are you doing to me? Oh, baby. That.
敵モビルスーツを撃破。
Yeah.
作戦時間終了だ。
Ooh, my god. That shouldn't have been that close. Ugh. Disgusting.
今回の戦闘報酬だ。
Okay, and that was our run in the narrative B2-Packs. Interesting suit. I don't think that this is a very big encompassing solution to some of the problems and the kind of things that supports have to face at these costs. I think it's a step in the right direction. It definitely has a lot of mobile shooting things going on. It's obvious that they want that to be an opening for you to really be able to like strafe and backpedal and be able to hold back some of these guys. You know, you hit the standby on here, you get a decent amount of accumulation. You have these up, and as long as you don't get knocked down, mind you, as long as you don't get knocked down. I don't think that's necessary, by the way. I think that they should have let them be active even when you do get knocked down. But as long as you don't, it will accumulate a decent amount, and you can kind of throw in some other stuff and get your Vulcans on and try to just hold people down until everyone else kind of catches up and does what they have to do. Will that happen very often? No. Do I really particularly subscribe to suits that aren't inherently or a little bit more easily self-sufficient? Not particularly, and that's why, you know, I kind of have a harder time recommending or really being down for some support suits. But this one feels a little bit more our speed. I just kind of wish that some of the ranges were a bit more generous. But I do think, even compared to what I was doing in some of those matches, you know, throwing in the saber, trying to get it a little bit more mean and make sure that these guys don't push in with you without any kind of response is definitely the way to go, as it tends to be with anything. But that's our long and short of it for the new narrative. Another UC Engage special. It really seems like they're getting comfortable with including these and just kind of filling out these weeks. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to the anniversary, maybe some other events along the way. So this is their time now more than ever to really kind of get some of these out the door before they do whatever kind of big titular suits or whatever they're going to bust out for those events as we get deeper into the summer. And we'll just have to see. But until then, this is Gustav the 13th, checking out another suit. Good luck if you do spin for this. I wouldn't really say that you super have to. At least not until we see what the adjustments to like the barber toast and all that are going to be at 700 and 750. And until next time, I hope you guys have a good rest of your morning, night, or whatever. And I'll talk to you all in the next video. Get them my funnel.